Okay, welcome to our class about the gut reset and just making our bellies happy and what an impact that has on the rest of our health. I am super excited to have with me today Gabrielle Grandel. We met during the COVID times because I was somehow we have mutual friends and I kept seeing her posts on social media and I was like, I need to meet this woman. She thinks like I think. I really love what she's posting. She's really smart. So we connected during COVID. I think I just reached out to her and said, we need to talk. And we have been friends ever since. And we've gotten together several times. And I love what she does for a living because what I think I have I need to switch my slides here. She actually is a functional health practitioner and she sees patients who really want some hand holding through changing their lifestyle to heal their bodies, usually starting with your gut, because that is really the ground zero of health, of all your health really resides in your gut. Gabrielle is amazing at really helping people walk through the process of changing their lifestyle. And she has the ability to run tests, all kinds of tests, so that she knows exactly what each person needs so that you can get a really customized approach to your health. So with that, I'm really happy to have her with me today. And I'm going to hand it to you, Gabrielle.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ali. Same, when we met and we connected over like-minded, we were just so like-minded about health freedom and medical freedom. And I could tell that you really, lived the life that you were promoting. And when I learned about your connection with essential oils, I thought, wow, this is really in alignment with what I believe. So a little about me is that, like Ali said, I am a functional medicine nutritionist and certified health coach, and also known as the Gut Goddess. And I have been practicing for the last 17 years doing clinical nutrition. And then for the last 12 years under the functional medicine paradigm. And I really believe that the further away we get from nature, the closer we get to disease. And I really try to bridge that gap with my clients and the gap between science and spirituality. I think it is our birthright to live a life that we love and in a body that is healthy and fit to serve our unique purposes in the world. And my area of expertise is digestive disorders and autoimmune conditions. And so these are some of the conditions that I commonly see in my practice. So we'll just kind of run through these briefly. IBS, you probably have all heard of this sort of umbrella term for irritable bowel syndrome. IBD is inflammatory bowel disease. So things like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, microscopic colitis. SIBO and SIFO are acronyms for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and fungal overgrowth. I see people for food sensitivities, intolerances, food allergies, and gastritis is inflammation of the stomach. Gastroparesis is a delayed stomach emptying. People with gallbladder issues that maybe don't want to get their gallbladder removed or they have gallstones. Liver concerns like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. GERD and heartburn. So, different ranges of heartburn and acid reflux. EOE is condition with the inflammation with the esophagus. Celiac disease, you probably have heard of, is autoimmune condition having to do with gluten intolerance. Hashimoto's is a thyroid condition, inflammation of the thyroid. Ali has some personal experience with that. Acne, eczema, psoriasis. So, these are all skin conditions, and a lot of people don't realize that you don't have to have digestive symptoms to have a gut that needs some support and has some imbalance, and it can manifest itself in different ways, like through these skin conditions. Also joint pain, mental health concerns like anxiety, depression, OCD, and then cognitive function. So dementia, Alzheimer's, and just overall like cognitive decline and improving your brain. So, and then here's Allie, the beautiful Allie. Oh, Allie, you're muted.
I'm muted. I was just going to really tell you guys why I'm so passionate about gut health. And it's because I had a very, very sick second child. When he was born, he had very serious health issues. And it all stemmed from his gut health. And we were literally, I mean, praying for this kid to make it. This is how severe his gut issues were. And I became extremely passionate at helping others heal their guts, and especially mamas heal their babies with gut issues, because I was so frustrated with Western medicine giving me horrible solutions that had awful side effects and really never getting to the core, the root of the issue. So it wasn't until I started studying holistic health, true holistic health, on the side with two children under 2 years old that I realized, like, wow, like we have major issues in the United States and really across the world on how we're feeding ourselves and how we're healing ourselves. So that's kind of how I got, and that's why I'm so passionate about gut health, is because it was a complete 180 for my family when I changed what we were eating and how we were healing our bodies. And I'm just super passionate that everyone needs access to this information so they can heal themselves. So what are essential oils and why are we talking about them with gut health? We're going to get into that in general, but they are highly concentrated extracts from plants. They're distilled from the roots, the leaves, the flowers, the bark, the rinds of plants. They are typically either steam distilled, cold pressed in the case of citrus oils, or made from the resin with the case of like frankincense and myrrh. Those are distilled through the resins from trees, which is really like the sap that dries out that is then distilled. There's huge variations on essential oils in the world. I mean, you literally can buy essential oils anywhere now, at your drugstore, at, like literally like your gas station. So you really, really need to know what you're putting on your body, because there's no regulation in the world of essential oils. So the vast majority of essential oils are just fragrance, just straight chemical fragrance. There's no plant material at all. Then when you get into your organic essential oils, there's a huge variation there. You just have to have one drop of something organic in a bottle to call it organic. So you can see that there's really a concern with really what you use medicinally. If you're going to use essential oils medicinally, you need to get oils that are meant to be used that way. So I really encourage you to do some of your own research, but in my own research, and this is, by the way, this photo here, I actually took myself with my own phone. I have spent weeks on Young Living Farms. Young Living is one of the oldest essential oil companies in the world. They own their own farms and distilleries, and they also partner with family farming, so generational farms that are trying to stay in that business of farming. But every single farm, whether it's Young Living or one of our partner farms, has to follow our seed to seal process, our seed to seal quality assurance, which means from really it really should be soil to seal, because it's about the health of the soil, the health of the seed that goes into the soil, how it's grown, how it's distilled, when it's distilled, and the fact that never is an herbicide, pesticide, or a chemical used during distillation. So all of the oils from Young Living are safe to ingest internally, which very few companies can state that. In fact, most bottles will say not for ingestion. That is a huge red flag that this is not something you want to use to heal your body. And every single batch of Young Living oils goes through 40 tests before distillation, and then once again after distillation. So they test for, did anything inorganic get on this plant? is it a high enough yield of chemical constituents? So if I am buying a bottle of lavender, I need to know that the one chemical constituent I'm using it for is high enough. And I also want to know that all of the healing chemical constituents in lavender are there and present for me. So all of the essential oils all the supplements with Young Living are infused with essential oils, which makes them highly absorbable into our body. You get way, way more bang for your buck. So instead of about 42% absorption in 24 hours, you get 86% absorption in 1 hour when you add the essential oils into a supplement. The only exception there is our probiotic, because we don't want that to kill the good bacteria too. So there's no essential oils in those. And it is a family-owned company, which is important because the family gets to decide how they want to spend their money, not shareholders. And what Young Living, the founders of Young Living have always said is, we make a product for a purpose, not for a profit. And that is huge, because you'll see that, some of our very most popular products are maybe our lowest margin products, but that doesn't matter because we want them in the hands of people so that the world can be healthy. Okay. So Gabrielle, I'm handing it to you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of echo what you were saying about how important it is, the quality of what you're using, and also that this company and what you and I do is not about profit. It is about the people, right? It is about educating. And unlike the, medical establishment, which is unfortunately more so driven from a profit perspective. And, unfortunately, many people die every year. It's just not really advertised from medical malpractice. And I think it's really fascinating to think about how powerful these plants are and these oils are, and that, it's what plants can do. Medicines are trying to do what plants can do naturally. And so the active constituent, or the powerful, factor in these plants is what is extracted to produce these oils, but they can't patent nature, right? So they try to synthesize these chemicals into medications that are going to try to recreate what that plant can do. And two kind of examples of that I think are really powerful is ginger. So ginger works on the same pathways as NSAIDs, like ibuprofen and Advil do. So does turmeric, by the way. But and then another one is wintergreen. So aspirin is actually, extracted from wintergreen. And 1 milliliter of wintergreen oil is equivalent to 1.4 grams of aspirin. And so, I want to get back to the root of nature, and why not use these, in a really powerful way to elicit those responses. Essential oils have been around for thousands and thousands of years. Back in Jesus's time, right? When the 3 wise men brought Jesus frankincense and myrrh, right? And, King Solomon, who built his temple using sandalwood. In Egyptian times, Ayurvedic traditions, people had apothecaries where they used food and plants and oils to heal. And so that really, aligns with my perspective and mission. And so today we're going to talk about some oils that are particularly helpful for gut health. And so peppermint is the first one. And peppermint is, you can see for all of these oils, we've listed out the medicinal uses and then some other kind of off-label uses. And I want to share a little bit of science for each oil, and then Ali is going to share a little story about about these different oils. And so in a 4-week randomized double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial, this is like the kind of trials you want to be exposed to. There were 72 patients that had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and they either received peppermint oil or a placebo. And the treatment group experienced a 40% reduction in their IBS symptoms after 4 weeks. That's compared to a 24% decrease in the placebo group. So almost double percent reduction in their symptoms. And actually, after just 24 hours of using the peppermint oil, the treatment group had a decrease in symptoms of 19.6%. So I think that's pretty powerful to consider.
So there are so many uses for peppermint. It is one that I always have in my handbag. It's hard for me to narrow it down to one story. So I was trying to think of what story I want to tell you today. So today I'm going to tell you a story about a friend of mine who is a physician, and his wife was having horrible digestive issues. They had put her on antibiotics. They were trying to fix it, and she was still really struggling. And so he started researching in medical journals and PubMed.gov what else they could look at for her gut issues, and he kept coming across peppermint, and they started using Young Living peppermint, and the story is she was healed. So really is amazing. And I love to hear these Western medical practitioners who really, like, their first insight is to just go to the medical, pharmaceuticals. And then they start doing their own research and realize, gosh, we have something from nature. And by the way, it's working better. So I love that. So I could go on about peppermint, but we have a lot to cover in a short period of time. So let's move to lemongrass.
Lemongrass. So again, these are all super powerful and have so many different symptoms and things they can support. One of the things you'll see here is inhibits all MRSA strains. So that is a methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, which is a type of bacteria that can get pretty problematic pretty quickly, and then it is resistant to different kinds of drugs. And so there was actually several hospitals that have been able to reduce their rates of MRSA by diffusing lemongrass in the hospitals. And so, the medical route to treat this would be IV vancomycin, which is a very, very strong drug. And it's not always, doesn't always work. And so the lemongrass was super effective, and it's actually really inexpensive, coming back to, again, not being about the profit, but being about what works.
This is one of the least expensive oils you can buy, and it is one that I will not live without. We have used it for so many things in our house, from sprained wrists and ankles, more than I care to mention. I have one of my favorite stories about this is a friend of mine who was using essential oils, but her husband had gotten a cut on his leg while he was doing a river rafting, and he ended up with a staph infection on his leg. And he ended up in the hospital. They put him on IV antibiotics. He had a horrible reaction to the antibiotics. Things were getting worse and worse and worse. And he started, so she came to him and was like, what do you recommend? And I was like, good Lord, for $12, $13, you can get a bottle of lemongrass. Start applying that to his leg. Lemongrass is considered a hot oil, which means it can cause a rash on sensitive skin. So you might want to dilute it after you apply it. So it takes 30 seconds for an oil to get into your bloodstream, and about 30 minutes for that oil to make its way through every blood cell in your body. So what I typically do is say, count to 30 after you apply it. And then if you're using a hot oil, add a carrier oil on afterwards. So a carrier oil or fatty vegetable oils like coconut oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, things you have in your kitchen, right? Anything with fat will get rid of any kind of sensitivity you would have to that hotter oil, is what we would call it. So he ended up putting the lemongrass on his leg. completely healed him within 24 hours. Then he started healing his gut with Ningxia Red, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and our probiotics. So it's just, this is an oil that is just, it's so inexpensive. Like you just should have it because it's not like I'm asking anyone to buy $100 oil. Like this is good. It's really good to have on hand when you need it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to comment on something you mentioned. Since I work with so many people with digestive issues, they have absorption issues as well, which is another great reason to use oils because it's not gut dependent, right? So it can get quickly into your system and you can start to utilize it. Okay, and so the next one is clove. And what I wanted to point out about clove today is its connection. Well, first of all, it's the most antioxidant rich plant oil, which is pretty amazing. But it also has so many, antifungal and antibacterial properties and such. But it's very helpful for the oral microbiome. So we have, all these different microbiomes. And of course, the oral microbiome in our mouth is connected to our gut and everything else downstream. So you really want to take care of the bacteria that are in your mouth. And one of the main powerful constituents of clove is eugenol, and they actually use this in things like Oragel, right? So anyway, there are a lot of antibacterial properties to clove, and it's also I personally put this in my mouthwash. We're going to talk about thieves a little bit later on, which is another powerful oil, but they have a line of mouthwash and dental floss and toothpaste, and it already has some clove in there, but I like to add a little additional. And if you ever have any kind of sores in your mouth, or I can't remember what it's called when you like get your teeth extracted.
An abscess.
Anyway, if there's any inflammation in there, yeah, you can use this naturally to help yourself.
Absolutely. Clove is another one that's super inexpensive. It's actually one of the most antioxidant oils as well. So you'll find that like things won't rust if they're growing near a clove plant. So it's really amazing for so many things. I'm going to show you a little bit of a graphic picture. So if you have a weak stomach, this literally just happened in our house in the last month. But my husband was probably a brown recluse bite. You can see the first top left picture is a few days after, and things were getting worse. I didn't know what it was at first because I'd never seen a brown recluse bite in person. I thought at first he like got a staph infection maybe, but I started putting clove on it. And then I sent a message out, which is the best part of the Young Living community, is I sent out an APB to all of my oily friends and with the first picture and was like, does this look like a staph infection to you? Like, what is this? And one of my, like 3 people immediately were like, brown recluse bite. And I'm like, oh no. So one of them said, hey, there's this kit that I buy that has this paste in it. And so she sends me a picture of it, which says out of stock on it, which anyway, I didn't have it in my hands right then. So I looked at the ingredients and it was essential oils with some other things in it. So the black part is activated charcoal. So if you see the first picture there is I literally in less than 5 minutes was able to, out of my cabinet, make him a paste for his leg. And this is very shortly after bottom left that everything started drying up. And then the black stuck to like the pussy part. Sorry, TMI, but it stuck to the pussy part. And then it just started just healing and falling off that you'll see in that bottom middle. And then this was literally 1.5 weeks later from the first picture. So that's like 10 days later of dealing with a brown recluse bite, which I would call that a huge win. We also did oils internally. We did Mountain Savory, which is the same family as like oregano oil, but Mountain Savory seems to be like a winner for these types of things. So I gave him some capsules. He took like maybe 3 capsules a day for a couple of days of Mountain Savory, which was like an internal antibiotic. And we were able to avoid all the things. He never went anywhere but his wife's hands. And he was very cooperative, thankfully. But he healed really quickly. And his father is a doctor and saw it and was like, you need to go to the hospital and you need to have all these things done. And we were like, we got it, we got it. And my husband has been doing this with me for, I mean, for 10 years, I've been in this world, and he's gotten to the point where he fully trusts that whatever I give him will work, because it always does. So he wasn't stressed. He was totally calm about it. And I think that was the best part, is that instead of having this horrible fear that my husband was going to lose his flesh, I really was at peace that like what we were doing was going to work.
So awesome.
Okay.
Digest. Yes, this is the prized digestion blend because of all the things that it contains. So tarragon, ginger, peppermint, juniper, fennel, star anise, patchouli, lemongrass we touched on, peppermint we touched on. But Digest is awesome for improving digestion, for soothing inflammation in the gut. It also, as you can see, stimulates bile flow. Going back to what I was sharing earlier a little bit about ginger, working on those same pathways to reduce inflammation. So there was actually a study published in the World Journal of Gastroenterology, and it found that that ginger oil stimulated gastric emptying in people with indigestion. And so that's one of the conditions that I see often, is that gastroparesis, or that slow stomach emptying, and can cause some downstream negative effects and a lot of inflammation present. And then ginger oil, of course, is really helpful for reducing nausea and easing, abdominal pain, and also relieving gas, as is fennel. And so just some really powerful combinations here.
So Digest to me is one of the oils that is kind of like, told you so, kind of an oil for me, because I have so many people that think I'm crazy woo-woo, and they just don't really understand what essential oils are, and they just think that they're for smell. And if you get someone who does not believe that essential oils do anything to help you, and they have a stomach issue, they have some kind of digestive issue going on, and you let them use your Digest, they will believe in essential oils forevermore, because it works so quickly, and it's really a miracle for all kinds of gut issues. So quick story is, I had a friend that I met through my kiddos school, and her daughter was the same age as my son. She'd come and learned a little bit about oils, and she had a little starter bundle, and she texted me like, I remember you saying something about constipation, that something was good for constipation. And I said, yes, grab your Digest oil and rub it on. So she told me her daughter had been sitting on the toilet for 2 hours, just in tears. She could not get her poop out. So I told her to apply the Digest to her belly, and then to put a drop of peppermint in the toilet bowl water, because the fumes, the aromatics of the peppermint makes the sphincter dilate. Sorry, TMI. We got to talk about poop when we talk about digestion. So anyway, literally with less than 5 minutes, I get this text back with a bunch of expletives saying, what is this voodoo? Like, I don't understand what just happened, but she's been here for 2 hours, and within 5 minutes of doing this, my girl is going. So it is truly an oil that will make a believer out of anyone. And it's so, so helpful to always have on hand if your stomach is hurting. And I encourage you, when you have this oil in your hand, to use it, because the other night I went to bed and my stomach was kind of bothering me, but then I was like, oh, it'll be fine, I'll just go to sleep. And had I just put a drop of Digest under my mouth, I would have slept like a baby. And instead, I tossed and turned the whole night, instead of just fixing the problem that I could have fixed with one drop of oil. So use it.
And I like what you said about mentioning rubbing it along the colon, right? I think that's super helpful for people to remember, that they can use it topically in that same way. Lavender, another rock star for so many purposes. Also another very inexpensive option. And what I wanted to point out about lavender It does act as an antihistamine, which is kind of cool. But where I like to focus the attention is where people are having issues with their nervous system. And so they're having issues with anxiety or, a lot of stress, and they need to kind of calm down. And so I found this really cool study that was done in 2019 that showed that lavender oil significantly did reduce anxiety. It was actually done in the cohort of patients that were waiting for breast surgery. And out of the 40 patients that inhaled that lavender oil before their surgery, they had a dramatic reduction in their anxiety, and of course the other folks didn't. So that's just another easy way to calm your nerves, because if your nervous system is dysregulated, your gut really shuts down. And we'll
Yeah.
talk a little more about that later, but
Yes. So again, this is the queen of oils. She has all kinds of purposes. I mean, there are something like 300 known uses for lavender. So it's people like to refer to lavender as a Swiss Army knife. If when in doubt, start with lavender. And if that doesn't give you what you need, you can move on from there. But I think one of the most dramatic stories I have about lavender, speaking of it being an antihistamine, is that I was at a luncheon with moms and daughters for Girl Scouts when my daughter was doing that when she was younger. And there was a table of moms and a table of girls. We were right next to each other. And the one girl whose mother wasn't there and we did not know had some kind of a nut allergy, ate the dessert, went into anaphylaxis. And the girls came over. I guess they knew I was the voodoo lady. And they came to me and they said, Jacqueline can't breathe. She ate the dessert. She's allergic to hazelnuts. And I had literally thrown my bag of essential oils that I keep in my purse into my little clutch because I was like, I actually had gone back inside to grab it before I went. I like got in my car and was like, I feel like I should just have them just in case. Went back in, grabbed them. I pulled out my lavender while I was there. It was a little teeny bottle that I carried my little bottles with me. I put two tiny drops under her tongue. It was basically the equivalent of one full drop that you would get out of a bottle from my tiny bottle. And I had my hands on her, and I knew enough from having kids with food intolerances that I knew that your body heated when you ate something that you were intolerant to, that like that is a systemic reaction that your body has. And I knew she couldn't even talk because she couldn't breathe. Okay. She wasn't even crying because she couldn't breathe at this point. And so I just put my hand on her and I said, this isn't going to taste great. Her body was on fire. And after I put the lavender in her mouth, I could probably 5 seconds later, I could feel the body temperature. I didn't take my hand off of her for two reasons. One, I wanted to feel the heat on her body. Two, I wanted to console her, make her like she needed to be touched, right? I felt like as a mama, I needed to do that. So I immediately felt her body temperature go down. And I looked at her and I said, can you breathe now? And she said, oh my God, I can breathe. Oh my God, you saved my life. I can breathe. And by the way, no one knew this was going on. None of the other moms knew. I didn't make a scene. I just got up and I went to her. I didn't have to announce at a luncheon with 800 women, like, does anyone have an EpiPen? Get her in the ambulance, take her to the hospital. Like, none of that happened. It was literally like, I just like, is everything okay? Okay, eat something yummy now. I know that doesn't taste great. I went back to my seat. We finished the day as if nothing had ever happened. And then later on, we went to pick the girls up from school, and this little girl, same girl, runs up to me, jumps in my arms, and she's like, "You saved my life!" It was like so dramatic for her, but it was really amazing. I knew I had heard this would happen. I'd never had to use it before, but I was so happy that it worked when we needed it to. So it's a great story.
that's so wonderful. You listened to your intuition and went back and got it and had it available for just a time like that.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Frankincense up next. So frankincense, super powerful, really helpful for inflammation. It actually has, anti-cancer promoting properties as well. It's really awesome. I wanted to mention that there so a lot of, again, the people that I work with have Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, some sort of IBD situation going on. And there was actually a study where, so frankincense is the extract of the boswellia tree. And this oil outperformed the traditional drug, mesalamine, that people use for Crohn's disease. And it was just as effective, if not more. And so I just think that's huge. And those drugs, by the way, are several $100s a month. So it's wild. So yeah, that's my point that I wanted to make on frankincense.
I mean, I feel like I could talk about Frank forever. I affectionately call him Frank. In fact, my cat's name is Frankie because of this oil, because when he came to me wounded, I healed his little baby ear with frankincense. But one of the things I really want to hit on with frankincense, and there's so many things, is that so many people are dealing with anxiety and depression. And this is one of the most effective anxiety and depression solutions. We have something on our team that we call the sunshine capsule, where you take a capsule and you put in lemon oil or orange oil, your choice, and a couple of drops of that and frankincense, and you take it internally. And we have had so many people off of their anxiety medication and telling me that they feel better than they ever did on their anxiety meds. So super, super powerful, really effective, less expensive, probably than most. It's not the least expensive oil, I will say, but it is so, so powerful. We have different variations of it. One thing I didn't mention, that in the US, we have a white label and a red label. The white label is because the FDA makes us classify our oils as either a supplement or a cosmetic. It's literally the identical oil. We just have one labeled for internal use, one labeled for topical use. So they are the same exact oil inside. So we have regular frankincense. We have sacred frankincense, which is double the amount of alpha pinene, which is the chemical constituent known for repairing DNA. Yes, frankincense can repair DNA. It's amazing. And then we have our brand new frankincense squared, which is a new technology of distillation where we can get way more chemical constituents out of the resin of the frankincense by distilling it with frankincense oil. So that's even more potent. It's about 5 times more more potent antioxidant than regular frankincense. So Frank is amazing.
Frank. I
Frank,
love it. Oregano oil. Yeah, again, just ways to use natural plants and herbs in lieu of using medication is I have a food first approach and a nature first approach. And so oregano is again one that I use often for helping people with bacterial or viral or antifungal, as an antifungal, if they have any of those kinds of imbalances or overgrowth. There was actually a study showing how powerful it was against E. coli. It helps fight free radicals, and just a really awesome oil. And the other bacteria, or sorry, the other microbe that was mentioned in this study was what's called norovirus, and that is traditionally aligned with like food poisoning. And so it's not something that I would have someone use on and on and on for a long period of time, because it is so powerful at knocking off the bad bugs, that it can also influence the beneficial bacteria as well. But this is a great one.
I'm going to be quick because we're running out of time, but my daughter had bacterial pneumonia, and in taking care of her, coughed in my face. I ended up getting pneumonia as well. And I had to get on a plane 3 days later. I got to get on a plane 3 days later to go to South Africa to actually see many of the people who are on this call. I started taking oregano in capsules immediately. And I was literally barely even, like, I barely even had a cough left by the time I got on the plane. It was a little, like, that's all that was left after just 3 days. With bacterial pneumonia, typically takes months to recover from. So it is very, very powerful. Love it.
And then last but not least is thieves. And we have touched on several of these oils, or some of them, in the previous slides. And you guys might be already familiar with the way that thieves got its name. Again, to be, I guess, respectful of time, I didn't realize I didn't realize what time it was. But anyhow, thieves is really great, and it is it it's very helpful for a myriad of microbial imbalances and ways to purify the air and detoxify the body. And it tastes really good also, to me. So,
And it smells so good.
and it smells great. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So you want to, we'll go here to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then thieves, as I mentioned earlier, there's a whole line for dental care, because of the importance of, having a healthy oral microbiome. But they also have a line of cleaners and natural solutions for, washing your fruits and vegetables, and again, cleaning your home. A lot of people don't realize that there are so many chemicals and things like, surfactants and fragrances and PFAs and phthalates, and, the list goes on and on, that we are breathing in, that we are coming in contact with our skin that is then absorbing it. But all of those things impact our gut microbiome and the microbiota in the gut negatively. And so, when we can work to reduce the exposure to those things that we use on a continual basis, the better, right? The better for our health, the better for our gut health, the better for our pets, the better for all of it.
Absolutely. That is one thing we can control, is what we clean with. Hopefully, most of us on this call. Do you want to take this?
And sure, yeah. So let's go ahead and go on to the next slide there. So digestive enzymes, many people could use this extra support when they're eating. As we get older, we lose, the amount of enzymes that we make is decreased. As we have more stressors in our life, the amount of hydrochloric acid and pepsin is decreased. So all of that leads to the inability to digest and assimilate and break our food down, which then can lead to bacterial overgrowth, et cetera, et cetera. And so, digestive enzymes, Young Living has several different options. And just what we wanted to kind of point out just briefly here is that the Allerzyme and the Detoxzyme would be more for those that are eating primarily plant-based. And then Essential Zyme and Essential Zymes 4 is for those that are having more animal protein because of the addition of the pancreatin and the peptidase and such. So a lot of people can benefit from digestive enzymes. I also can do testing on the gut microbiome to see what your ability to produce these pancreatic enzymes is, what the bioflow looks like, what the hydrochloric acid, situation looks like. But you're never going to go wrong with taking these. It's not going to be a harmful effect. It can only be beneficial.
Big fan. Okay, so there is a supplement that Young Living makes called Ningxia Red. It is a liquid puree of fruits that the founder, Gary Young, who you see pictured here, was fascinated with people who are living to be over 100 years old. And what he found was that there was a specific province called the Ningxia province of China, where there was a massive group of centenarians, one of the largest in the world. Those are people living over 100 years. And what they all had in common when he went to go visit and interview them was that they all ate this Ningxia, or the Lycium barbarum fruit, daily. It's actually considered one of China's three national treasures. It's given to pregnant women, it's given to cancer patients, it's given to Olympians. It is known for its healing properties, and there are tons of studies that they've done in China about this berry. So Gary was eager to bring something like that to the United States. So he made a puree from the Ningxia berry. And in 1 cup of Ningxia red, you would find 4 cups of purple grapes, a cup of wolfberries, 4 whole cherries, half of blueberries, pomegranate seeds, plum, aronia berries, and then it's also infused with essential oils. So all of these ingredients have massive health benefits. It's super antioxidant. Actually, I'm handing this to you here. You get to talk about this part. Go for it.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it says it all here, they all have so many things to offer. What I wanted to point out about this is that the pomegranate, the tannins in pomegranate, so just back up a little bit, polyphenols and antioxidants, flavonoids, things like that, that are naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables. Those are the main food source for the bacteria, the friendly bacteria that we want to thrive and to grow along with fiber. But pomegranate seeds, the tannins in pomegranate were studied to help produce a specific kind of bacteria strain called Akkermansia muciniphila. And there's been some highlight around this Akkermansia as of late, and people talking about GLP-1 and things like Ozempic and that kind of thing. We don't have time to get into all of that today, but I just wanted to point out that pomegranates aren't super easy to come by. If you're just at the grocery store or at the farmer's market or something. And so this is a great source of having a really potent, offering of pomegranate. And then all these other fruits have a lot of benefit as well.
And something about, I want to just mention that the reason that there's citrus oils in here is that, one, it helps you absorb all the rest of the nutrients from the puree of fruits that are in here, but also citrus oils are really high in a chemical constituent called limonene, which actually helps combat cell mutation, so abnormal cells. And it really drives up your glutathione levels and your immune system. So that's just really good for you to drink daily. So Young Living has done clinical trials on the ingredients, but also we officially have a clinical trial of Ningxia Red as a whole. And so what we can actually claim is that it's clinically shown to significantly reduce stress by 23% and improve mental well-being. It promotes a healthy respiratory function. We can also say that it promotes your body's healthy response to inflammation, which means it reduces inflammation in your body. I can attest to the fact that I lost 6.25 inches when doing a 14-day reset, and I had been doing all the other things. And for me, the biggest aha was that my rings were loose on my fingers. So you can lose weight in your body, but for me, like when my rings get loose, I'm like, oh, this really is about inflammation, typically. So there's a 14-day reset that many of us have done, and the results are insane. I wish I had time to go through all the before and after pictures and hear all the testimonies. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. But basically what you're doing is you're drinking excess quantities of Ningxia, probably not what you would maintain going forward, but you drink a lot you drink 12 ounces the first 3 days, then you back off to 6 ounces for the rest of the 11 days. You eat clean, no processed food for those 14 days. Maybe you can keep that forever, maybe. And drink a half of your body weight in ounces of water. The Ningxia does count towards that if you're someone that has a hard time drinking all your water. By the way, it makes your water taste great if you add it to your water, so it makes you want to drink more water. Move your body at least 30 minutes every day, however you choose, and then pick one way to reduce stress. So my easy button is, we have an oil called Stress Away, and I keep it here at my desk. And when I'm feeling the stress, I just roll it on, and it really does help reduce stress in your body. So highly recommend. Here's a little bit of a visual on the before and afters of energy, pain, mood, body image, joint mobility, skin appearance. Skin was huge for me. I felt like my skin was just glowing every time I do one of these resets. Mental acuity, digestion, quality of sleep, wellness, overall wellness, patience, and ability to handle stress. So all of these areas improved for people, which I think was really nice to say. And the average, on average, people lost at least 5.2 inches in that 14 days, which is pretty cool. Okay. So I don't know if we have time to go through this part about the parasite protocol.
Probably not.
Okay, let's skip that for today. If you're
Okay.
interested on parasites, then we definitely, yep, that's a parasite right there. We definitely have ways to help get rid of parasites naturally, because using antibiotics to get rid of parasites is a really bad idea, because then you kill the good bacteria that keeps parasites at bay. So we can talk about that on another call. But this is just ways to save money. If you've never used Young Living before, definitely order one of the starter bundles that Young Living has, because they're curated for a reason. They're highly discounted. We have an optional loyalty program that is you order whatever you want each month, whichever day you want. But when you order it through the loyalty program, because you're buying something monthly, you get a percentage back of everything you order. The first 3 months you get 10%. Then it jumps to 20, and after a couple of years you get 25% back on everything you buy. That acts like free money with Young Living you can use to go shopping. And then share with others. Just be kind, right? It's really just being kind. Like, if it works for you, share with someone else, because it'll probably help them too. And when you do that, Young Living will send you a thank you check, which is lovely. And how I support my family, which is lovely too, that I get to do something to help people and get paid to do that. If you are watching the replay, make sure that you get a link from your friend, so that your friend can help you answer all kinds of questions and order and get a promo code from your friend. And then
I wanted to just point out on that picture right there, that's actually one of the bundles. And as you might not be able to see clearly necessarily, but it contains thieves, lavender, peppermint, stress away, and a couple others. But we mentioned all 4 of those in our talk today, so that might be a good way to go if you're interested in improving your gut health. And then there's also that thieves bundle and some other ones too.
thank you. Yes. And then I want to make sure we share Gabrielle's information. So if you do want some hand holding and really like want someone to help do some testing for you and really customize a plan for you, I highly recommend Gabrielle. Here's her contact information. Take a screenshot if you'd like. And then I want to open it up for questions. Like, we have a few minutes left, and I just want to give people who came live a chance to open it to have questions answered. I'm going to stop sharing. Does anyone have a question?
Gabrielle, do you work remotely?
I do. I work with
Like,
people all over the world.
Okay, you would work with somebody in Illinois.
Absolutely. Yes, I have a HIPAA compliant video software that I can use.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm going to stop the recording.